guys, so today we're going to answer the questions you guys left us in the last video. We got a total of about 42 questions, and 21 of those are going to be answered here on the main channel, and the other half is going to be answered on the E1 Life Vlog channel. Subscribe to both channels so you get both of them, so if your question isn't in this video, it's in another one. Yeah, so the first question comes from G-Wagon Funk, and she asked, what does your logo represent, and who are your YouTube crushes?
Okay, so when we were trying to create the logo, it was actually kind of difficult for us to come up with something. We were thinking about animal logos or simple letter logos, so we just didn't really have a clear idea or the identity that we wanted to take. So we wanted something that would represent us. We decided to create something new, so we wanted to be different, like it's part of our name entity, a breed of its own kind. So we went for an animal that wasn't that common, so we went with the saber-toothed tiger. But along with that, we also wanted to show our humane part, so we went with something that kind of showed, I guess, a balance of life, the good and the bad. So if you guys really pay attention to the logo itself, there's a yin-yang sign in the back of the saber-toothed tiger. The division of the yin-yang sign separates the saber-toothed tiger with the flesh and the skull itself. So pretty much what all of that represents is a balance between trying to be different and also trying to be normal. For example, like the part about the flesh with the saber-toothed tiger, that's our difference. That's us trying to be different. But the skull itself also reminds us that we're also human. All of that is just a symbol of what this team stands for. Is there's good and bad, and that we're trying to be different, but at the end of the day, we're also simply just human. My crush, I don't really watch a lot of female YouTubers, honestly. But I think if I were to pick a crush or somebody that I thought was really attractive, would probably be Megan Batoon.
Me, probably I would have to go with Franny Arrieta. She's hangs out with like David Arreezy and George Munoz and like that area, that scene of the YouTube community. So yeah, I'd probably have to be Franny.
The next question comes from Dope King Castro, and he says, do you guys recommend weight training? You want to?
Yeah, I guess he's for a little context. I'm pretty sure he's referring to as a boxing training with adding weight training to your boxing routine. I think it helps. I mean, I don't think it's recommended, because I know a lot of people like Ronda Rousey. She was a fighter and she rarely lifted weights. And honestly, if you're that technically gifted, you don't have to weight train. But if you're someone that's not as technically gifted, you may want to weight train to get an advantage over other people, or at least to kind of stay on the same level as the pros or whatever level you're at.
My advice is, if you guys are going to weight train, go for functional training. Don't use a lot of isolation movements. So don't be inside the gym curling. Go for big compound lifts such as squats, deadlifts, bench press. So anything that's very functional, any compound exercise. That's why people mostly stick to pull-ups, sit-ups, push-ups, deadlifts, squats, military press, stuff like that. So big compound movements, or just simple compound movements that help your body work together as a unit.
The next question comes from our buddy Christopher Kitt, and he asked, in a street fight, what would be 5 fundamental moves or techniques that should be prioritized?
One of the most important things that should be prioritized is distance management, because sometimes, let's say you're going up against a guy that's a bit bigger than you, you guys kind of want to stay away from him, because most of the time, every time you guys are fighting a bigger dude, the bigger dude will always want to try to pick you up or slam you. So distance management, punch protection, that's another thing. Defense, I guess some movement. You guys don't want to get hit, or you guys don't want to sacrifice yourself being hit with any punch, whether it be to the face or to the body. Takedown defense. You guys don't want to get taken down to the fight. You guys don't want to be taken down to the ground, especially if you're a much smaller opponent than your opposition. And fifth would probably just be try to avoid the fight itself. Those are my 5 fundamental things for street fights.
And really, what I would add to that is just, if you're in the street fight, your head movement, most people kind of stay in the pocket and they trade. It's not really trading, because they're kind of rushing each other, and most people don't have head movement in street fights. So if you add bobbing or weaving here and there, I think you'll be good in a street fight, which we don't recommend you should be in. Like you said, avoid the fight at all causes. But if you have to, sometimes it happens and you can't avoid it. Right.
Okay, the next question comes from Yashar Mo, and this is, what is one thing that bothers you guys in the fight community?
Everybody's an expert when it comes to fighting, especially in our comment section on our Instagrams. Everybody has something to say about any given fighter, and everybody all of a sudden is a pro fighter, and their advice should be taken seriously, and my advice or someone else's advice is wrong. And according to everybody's right and everybody's wrong, if that makes sense. Everybody's an expert, and no one's wrong.
Yeah, and just to add on to that, sometimes what people always forget is that coaches teach things in different ways. So sometimes what might seem wrong to you might be right to another coach. So there's no right or wrong way to do stuff in martial arts because different things work for different people. But just to add on to that, I just hate the people too that always have these judgments about a fighter and they never reach that pinnacle of success that most fighters reach. These guys will call certain fighters bums and journeymen and like just bash on these fighters without knowing all the sacrifice, all the work they did for them to just be on their ass judging these guys or girls. So I just hate all of that. Like I don't know how people could actually sit down behind a computer screen, judge somebody for actually putting themselves out there, putting their lives, their physicality on the line every day in training, and then trying to perform for you guys and for you guys just to bash them. You guys honestly, the fight community kills a lot of these fighters themselves without them even performing.
This question comes from A2C, and he asked, or she asked, any street fights you guys have been in or involved or seen?
So back in the days, my uncles would actually come and see me play. And so there was this one time that my dad actually punched some dude because I guess the game got kind of heated, the crowd got heated, so my dad punched this one dude, and then my uncles came in and they ended up fighting some other dudes, so it ended up being like a big rumble, and then I had to go help out my dad because my mom and my aunt were trying to help my uncle because my uncle had like 3 or 6 people on him and he had a hood on, so they had pulled the hood over his face and he couldn't see, and a bunch of people were pretty much jumping him. So on the other side, my dad was pretty much by himself with probably another 1 or 2 dudes, so I had to go help my dad over there. I had to go tackle some guys, and after I felt bad for my uncle because my uncle was all bruised up, and then it was kind of weird at the end because then at the end of the day, at night, we had a carne asada and my uncle could barely see because he had 2 bruised eyes, so it was just chaotic.
Similar, once my brother was getting jumped in front of my house, and my dad we were just arriving from the store, and my dad thought they were just playing around, and until my dad saw my brother get hit with the brick in the back of the head, and then my brother, obviously, the back of the head is a sensitive spot, and the brick is really hard, so he was out for the count. So my dad saw that, and he kind of went to them, and it was 2 guys versus 1, and then my dad hit one of them with a hook to the liver, which is kind of rare that you don't really see in fighting, and he drops the guy, and then my dad, he's an old man, continues to chase the other guy down the street, and the other guy was running for his fucking life. And then later on, we were scared that they would come back, and so we went to our neighbor. The neighbor had a gun, and we got a bunch of weapons because we thought they were going to come back with their whole gang, and we were going to have to attack them. But fortunately, they never came back, and I never saw them again. I don't know if my brother saw them again, but yeah, my dad, protected us.
Next question comes from Cinderella KO, and she asks, what is the best martial art a girl can learn?
My personal opinion, obviously the biased one, I have to say jiu-jitsu, because if you're gonna striking martial arts, especially like karate or taekwondo, it gives you kind of a false comfort, because some stuff that they teach you is, not to bash on them, but sometimes some stuff that they teach you, especially nowadays with martial arts school that are mainly about making money, are kind of, those things they teach you don't really work for all people, and especially women who kind of would struggle against another man in strength. I think jiu-jitsu would be the best one because you don't need the strength to choke someone out or get someone in an armbar. And there's jiu-jitsu schools like the Gracie Academy in Torrance that teach women self-defense, which helps a lot of women when they get attacked in the night or attempted rape.
For a girl, I think just to be kind of well-rounded, learn some jiu-jitsu, maybe a little bit of striking here and there, just if it gets to a point where you're actually having to defend yourself on your feet. So I think the best thing you could actually do is learn maybe a striking sport and then also do jiu-jitsu.
Next question comes from What's Up 345. Do you guys think it would be better for fights to be judged by damage they took, or what do you think should be put inside the judging rules to make the competition fair and everyone gets the right call?
Fights should not be judged by the damage they took because of the fact that if it was judged like that, then a lot of the fighters that easily get cut open, these guys would be losing all the time. I don't think things should be judged like that. And as in, to make things more fair, I'm not really sure because of the fact that people say there's a clear rules and set of how a fight should be judged, but judges still judge it different ways. So sometimes the person that's more accurate with their power punches wins. Sometimes the guy that lands more punches, which would most of the time would be jabs, wins. So it's kind of hard for us to have a clear set of rules on who do you think won certain fights. So sometimes what you guys always forget is that it's a business, and sometimes the bad call even though I hate to say it, is probably more than likely done on purpose.
I don't think people should take. I don't think the fight should be judged by damage you took, because Dan Henderson versus Michael Bisping. Although I think Michael Bisping, I think Dan Henderson won that fight, but Michael Bisping was really badly cut up, but he still held his own and was still tagging Dan Henderson. Although he had more damage on his face, it was still a pretty close fight. And so if you just judged it based on the looks, then obviously the decision went to Dan Henderson. And the judging in MMA is a little different because they judge it with the 10-point must scoring system that they have in boxing, and that's, I think that they should implement new rules. I don't know what those rules are, but definitely not the boxing rules, because there's a lot of different factors in MMA, like takedowns and submission attempts, submission escapes, takedown defenses, and all that stuff that may or may not be included in the judge's call.
The next question comes from Ariel KO, and she writes, "Why are you not funny as an MMA Unrated?"
And because our MMA Unrated page, obviously the title is unrated. That one we're kind of not restricted, because in the E1 Combat page we kind of keep it professional, because that's our means of networking and marketing ourselves, our YouTube channel. And MMA Unrated is just for fun. This question comes from Christina Sanchez. Is it different training girls than it is training guys? What happened to the girls in their early videos? What happened to Sosa?
Yes and no, because honestly, girls pick up things a little bit more faster than guys from the experience I've had. So it's kind of different, but I treat them both the same. There's not really no special treatment. There's no more emphasis on the girl because she's a girl, or there's no more emphasis more on the guy because he's a guy. It's just the same type of training, but the only difference is, I guess, girls pick up things a little bit quicker. And what happened to the girls in the early videos, I see them here and there, and they're doing great. They're in school and they're working. So they're living a normal life.
Yeah. And Sosa, honestly, it's the same thing. He's working, he's going to school, and he has different priorities than being here. We still talk to him though. We still talk to Sosa. They hang out all the time, and occasionally we hang out, and yeah, it's cool. So there's no animosity towards him. We're still friends, and yeah.
Yeah, there's no animosity towards anybody on this channel. Everybody that's been on this channel.
Except one person. Fuck you.
Everybody that's been on this channel, we actually still communicate with them here and there. Not on the regular basis as before, but there's no beef, no animosity, and things flow smoothly every time we see them or talk to them. The next question comes from La Única, and she asks, how do you deal with cocky people and athletes? How do you deal with intimidation?
Honestly, obviously the coaches should be on top of that. The cocky person, cockiness is kind of, it could be good and bad if you're a professional fighter, and professional fighters have to be selfish. But if you're, the training room, it's just some kid in the gym that's just being really cocky. Honestly, there's nothing really you can say verbally. Just honestly, you train your best, and eventually when you guys spar, show him off. Beat him. Obviously, it's like the old school way, just beat him down and humble the guy, really.
How do I deal with cocky people? I just simply don't pay attention to them. Even though sometimes people act cocky with me, or if I go into a room and I know somebody's trying to flex on me or trying to intimidate me in some type of way, I don't really feel the need for me to bring my mindset down. I actually kind of always feel at par with everybody. I don't really care what people have, or I'm not really intimidated by size neither, so I always feel at par with people, and I never really ever feel intimidated at all. So just always keep your mindset right. Always try to keep yourself at par with everybody else, and that way you guys simply won't be intimidated by anybody.
Yeah, and something to add, obviously if the guy is better than you or is more experienced, and then you can't really beat him up. But what you can do is, when you do guys spar, you show him that you're not scared. You would make them earn your respect. So the next question comes from Felipe Blanco, and this person asked, have you guys met any professional fighters?
I honestly have not met any professional fighters. I've been very close to some professional fighters. For example, like my uncle has taken me to Velasco a couple times, and at the Velasco sometimes. The previous time I was there, I actually saw Victor Ortiz, I saw Leo Santa Cruz, I saw Soto Caras, I saw Abner Mares. So I've seen a few pro fighters. I've actually never really taken the time to actually go and introduce myself or actually meet them personally. I'm not those type of people that are starstruck and have to meet those fighters. But yeah, I've seen fighters up close. Never got the chance to meet them, but I've seen them pretty close and personal.
Yeah, I've met a few professional MMA fighters, like my buddy Ron Henderson. I train with him all the time. He's fought in Bellator. And Tony Ferguson, I met him. We used to train in the same lineage, jiu-jitsu, and we took a picture with him. He was a really cool dude. We talked for a bit at the gym. And yeah, and other like jiu-jitsu like Eddie Bravo, Leo Vieira, professional jiu-jitsu practitioners, and then I've been to like Bellator events where I've seen Kung Lee and Royce Gracie. With those people, I never didn't meet them because, like you said, I'm not really starstruck. And my brother took a picture with them, and I just didn't take one. And yeah, and hopefully I get to meet more in the future as I keep training in this MMA or fight community.
Unloaded Target, and he says, how do you guys see MMA evolutionizing in 10 plus years from now? Do you think the striking will get better, grappling? Do you think that as a kid you would have to be training a lot of disciplines to get the edge when you are older or a pro? Joe Rogan and company said that back then you could have gotten away with learning only one discipline and competing in MMA. Now it's becoming to a point where you have to learn many martial arts disciplines early. If not, it will be hard to compete in the pro stages. I just want your take on that.
Well, in 10 years, obviously, it's going to be far, far advanced compared to these guys today. So the Conor McGregors are going to be outdone by, some kid that right now is training. And I think martial arts in general, like jiu-jitsu and boxing and other martial arts, they're becoming a lot better. And so once you get some kid that's been training jiu-jitsu for 12 years and he starts striking at a young age, that guy's going to be a problem because he has the jiu-jitsu base, the kid, and it's been embedded in him. Plus, he's still young enough where he's going to learn striking and kicking and punching. So I think in 10 years, he's going to be way out of this world.
If you start training from an early age, you guys get a very big head start on anybody that's just been training one discipline for most of their lives. If you're learning stuff from a young age, you're able to pretty much perfect your craft. So then when you get to those stages where you're actually competing as a pro, then you already have a bit of an edge because your fundamentals have been pretty much been sculpted out in the last 10 years. So yeah, I think that's probably going to be the way things are going to run. You guys are going to have to start off pretty early to be able to compete at those high levels.
The next question comes from Ronan Warrior, and he asked if there's any alternatives to running, if there's any.
Yeah, you could actually go swimming. That you could actually use the treadmill, even though that's kind of like running, hiking, so stuff like that. But I think the best thing to do is always running, or some type of HIIT cardio. Some high intensity interval training.
Or, this is running too, but running backwards is one thing Muhammad Ali did a lot, and that I think people should do a lot more often because people have trouble fighting on their back foot.
The next question comes from Leo De Leon, and he asked, where's Coda? Wasn't he supposed to have something on here? My real question, however, is what is more important, being physically ready or being mentally prepared? And just to answer the first part, where's Coda? Coda's been kind of busy. He's actually been training still, but he actually has a lot on his plate right now, so he hasn't really been creating content for us at all. And I'm not sure. I'm not sure when he'll be back. If you guys follow him on Instagram, you guys could go ask him.
Yeah, and the third part of the question is what's more important, being physically ready or mentally ready? I think, honestly, you need both. Obviously, it's a cliche answer, but people say that it's 90% mental, which, kind of weird because most of the training and the preparation is physical. You don't reach this high level of the UFC and become welterweight champion if you're not mentally prepared. So I think it's both. You need to be physically and mentally prepared. I'm not an expert in anything, but I can't say which one's more important than the other, and I guess it depends on the person as well.
You gotta have a little bit of both. If you're not physically prepared, you guys are gonna gas out early. If you guys are not mentally prepared, you guys probably want to do something physically, but are not gonna have the mental capability of following through with it. So you gotta have both. So we're probably gonna end the video here. So if your question wasn't answered, go check out our vlog channel. Probably leave the link to our vlog channel down below, or I'll leave something plain. So go check out the vlog channel itself so you guys can see your question being answered if it wasn't on the part 1. So go check us out right there. Click the link down below. Watch us answer your question in part 2 of this video.
Yeah.